You are listening to Thoughts of the Week.
Listening to Thoughts of the Week.
Thoughts of the Week.
Wait a minute. You're supposed to say this is Thoughts of the Week.
You're listening to Thoughts of the Week. You're listening to Thoughts of the Week.
Do you know what you're listening to?
You're listening to Thoughts of the Week.
Oh, how's that?
What's up? What's good? Good morning on a Tuesday. It's probably around 9:20 or so. I want to say what's up to everybody joining me on this live stream and those who will be listening to me later on the Soundcast. I want to welcome the replay viewers, and I want to welcome the live viewers on today's show. Thank y'all for coming in. Thank y'all for watching. What's going on? Bru Carla, I think is how you pronounce it. Ask somebody to join in. Have some people come in. Invite your followers. All right, invite your followers. Ask people to join in. Gonna talk about something interesting today. They're always interesting, of course. Everything's always interesting. What's good? Hopefully there's no interruptions. Let's see here real quick. Hopefully there's no bad connections. I believe everything is good to go. Good to go. We had a great show last week, man. I didn't know until I checked later on that there were over 1,000 live viewers last week. That was great. Really didn't know. Somebody told me I was on the featured broadcast data last week, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, here you go. What's good? Got the MIU shirt. More Intelligent University. All right. I'm over here at a high school track this time around. Change locations this time around. All right. So, we're going to get this party started. All right. Just switch back on the cameras real quick. There we go. Get you a little scenic view for a little bit. Being the security person that I am, I will not reveal what school this is. So, unless you happen to live in this area, you won't know what it is anyway. So we're gonna keep the security always popping and keeping it fresh. All right. Keep the kids safe, so I'm not revealing where my locations are, but you just get to enjoy the view nonetheless. All right. So I was gonna start off with a line from I guess you could say a cartoon, and it was turned into an actual movie as well. All right. And it goes like this. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's chemtrails. And that's what I'm talking about today, man, chemtrails. Let's see here. So, how many of y'all have paid attention to at any time, whether you was going for a walk, whether you were driving, whether you was even flying in a plane, whether you were looking out your window, whether you were a passenger in a vehicle, whether you're just standing out on your porch. Have you ever just looked up, and when you was looking up, paid any attention to the planes and the lines that will go across the sky? Have you ever paid attention to that? And wondered to yourself, what is that? What are those lines coming from? Now, I remember as a kid that a lot of times there would be these planes that would be flying in the sky, right? But they would always draw little designs or words and stuff like that. Like, it would be a couple of planes, sometimes 2 or 3 planes, and they would say, write the word good morning in the sky. Or sometimes they'll say, they'll have a name, let's say Gary and Jenny just got married. But a lot of times I've seen things like that. It'll be those type of things in the sky. It used to be like back in the day. That's what I remember as far as that, those type of lines in the sky. And then, not realizing it then as a kid and growing up, coming up to teenager and young adult, what's going on? Somebody's in. If you came in, I didn't catch your name if it came across the screen. But as I was growing up, like I said, becoming an adult, when before it used to be like somebody draw, or planes, not somebody, but planes would draw sometimes different designs, different words, good morning, hello, whatever city you was in, like if it'd be hello New York, or it'll be something related to a news situation, and they would just draw those type of words into the sky, right? But then, like I said, as I started getting older, just thinking about it now, at some point that wasn't happening anymore. Those type of things weren't going on anymore with the airplanes, right? And so you kind of fast forward another 10, 15 years, and you are full adult, older, and then I started taking notice again. I say, let's fast forward and look at the year of 2015. I think it was around then, 14, 15, somewhere around then. I just started deciding to, I started noticing the planes again, noticing the lines in the sky, and noticing the lines crisscrossing several planes, 3 or 4 planes in the sky, crisscrossing each other. And, I started taking some serious notice of this. And I would notice that a lot of times they would come out. Sometimes they'll be out in the afternoon, right? Right in the dead of afternoon. But a lot of times I noticed the planes, may have been the same planes, might have been different ones, that they would come out early in the morning. Like right as you start to see some light, it would still had that dark look to it, but it was just a little bit of light coming out, just enough to where you could look up in the sky and see the planes. It's like they was trying to travel in the dark before you get to see them, finish. They was trying to finish up before you would get to see them. And I began to notice that several times, several mornings. Maybe not back to back always, but what would happen is one day, like I said about 2015, maybe sometime in the spring or starting to become spring, I decided just to, pay more attention to what was going on. And of course, between all that time, I started hearing about chemtrails and the chemicals that they use that's in the chemtrails, and then what the chemicals would do to people and the effects it had on, on health. So I decided, between all of that and then decided to really pay more attention to this, I would start paying attention. I would get up in the morning, walk the dog. I would see the planes out. Be 3 or 4 planes going in different directions. These lines would be crisscrossing each other, right? And so I would pay attention to that in the morning. Then during the day, depending on, I don't know what was being put in the air, but what I would notice is that those planes would go up during the daytime, and then sometimes later on that afternoon, the whole sky would just be cloudy. Be cloudy the rest of the day. Then the next day, still cloudy, rest of the day, right? Maybe 3 or 4 days in a row, it'll be cloudy. Then maybe on that 4th day or maybe on that 3rd day, it'll be a real heavy rain. Pouring down rain, pouring down rain. Right? 4th day go by, no more rain, but it's still heavily clouded. Then the next day, you start noticing the clouds kind of clearing up a little bit. You see a little patch of blue here, patch of blue there. And in between, those patches, planes is back up again. Crisscross, you see 2 or 3 of them going in the same direction. And then you might see another one further away from the planes that were going parallel with each other. It would kind of cross that line that those 2 planes were making. That other 3rd plane will go across those 2 lines in another direction. And then all of a sudden, the weather will clear up. And it'll get really extremely warm for the time of the year, the day and the month of the year that you were in. Normally, you might look at March, April. It's still kind of those cool months, and every now and then you get those warm days here and there. But for the most part, it's rainy or really still cold at times. And it just made me take more and more notice of every time those planes went up, the weather did something funny. The next day or the next 2 or 3 days, it either got really super hot or real stormy or just cloudy all day, or sometimes it will be super clear. And then those lines that the planes would make, after a while, also they wouldn't stay just the straight lines. They'll kind of start scattering and spreading apart. And it would look like it was a cloud on top of the clouds that were already in the sky, but you can kind of differentiate. Like right now, I'm looking at, as we speak, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, I'm gonna put this phone up. Right now as we speak, here goes a plane coming right by, putting a line in the sky. See that? Right now as I speak. Like I said, it may be too far away. I can't tell on my phone, but you guys might be able to see it. But there's a plane right now flying in the sky, right where I'm talking about the subject. So as I'm walking around this track, I'm gonna pay more attention and see what's happening. And see, what I think is going on is a lot of people are starting to wake up to this. And when more people start waking up to the wrongs that's getting done and they start calling stuff out, then the people who are in charge of doing stuff like the chemtrails and taking the planes up, they got to change their tactics or change the way they do things so they can go back and say, well, see, that's not really what's going on. Our planes just do this, our planes just do that. Like this particular plane right now, the line's just not staying out long. Normally when these planes will fly, it'll leave that long trail of line. Looks like a cloud, but on a long line. But this one is not really happening that way. It's just like staying like a few hundred or so feet from the plane, and then it kind of, you don't see it no more. So I'm wondering if, people are waking up to that and they're starting to change the tactics a little bit to get people not to believe or find out what's going on. And so, like I said, I'll begin to notice different weather changes every time these planes go up. And they will make 5 or 6 different lines crisscrossing. Looks like a tic-tac-toe game. You can play tic-tac-toe in the sky. Right? So, like I said, I began to notice that and pay attention for like the rest of the year, that particular year. And there was another day I remember driving, and the weather was nice as far as the sky goes. Yeah, see, this plane is not leaving a long line like the others previously in the past would do. But one day I was paying attention, the weather was clear, everything was cool, nice out. And then say around maybe 5 p.m., 6 p.m., planes would come out, lines drawn in the sky, leaving long, mile long or better lines crisscrossing each other. The very next morning you woke up, the whole sky was cloudy. And it stayed like that for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, and it rained on one of those days real heavy. And like I said, like clockwork, things cleared up. You seen the planes back up again. And then the next following days after the planes went up, the sky was clear. Yeah, so I'm looking up at this one now, and it hasn't left a long trail of line. So, maybe people are figuring, because people are figuring stuff out, these planes have to change tactics. Now there was a video, and I don't have the name of it, on YouTube, where I don't know if it was a documentary somebody was doing or they were showing clips of one, but they had several pilots. Some guy would walk around and just start questioning them. Maybe they found the pilots that were flying the planes that were leaving these lines, and they would question them, whoever this guy was, and was asking them things about, do you believe these planes are having chemicals, leaving chemicals out in the sky? And the pilot was trying to act dumb, but he was trying to answer it, but he was trying to answer it as if he really didn't know what was going on. He would just try to play it off like he's just a pilot. He just goes and flies. Like, you don't know what you're flying, but you just getting up there and flying a plane with no passengers in it, and you're just flying a plane for no reason and not knowing what's coming out of the plane. So he was trying to play dumb, but he was trying to say, like, trying to answer in a roundabout way, like, yeah, that's what's going on. Then there was this, I guess it was some type of meeting. In the same video, there was a meeting of some sort with, I guess it might have been scientists, might have been some pilots involved. And one guy asked one of the people who was giving the talk or whatever about the aluminum, because supposedly in these chemtrails, these lines that you guys would see in the sky, these long mile, 2, 3, 4, 5 mile long lines, they said those lines contain chemicals such as aluminum, barium, strontium, right? So you guys look that up. And I'm gonna look it up in a minute here and let y'all know what these things are, right? So it was, they were asked about the aluminum, or they were asked about the other ingredients as a whole. And then it kind of came up about the aluminum in the chemtrails and what will be the effects. And so one of the doctors or scientists / pilots, who knows, was again trying, it wasn't the same person, but somebody else was trying to, in a roundabout way, try to act like, well, we don't know the effects. Like he was trying to say that this aluminum is bad, but without him saying it, because he tried to say like, well, we haven't got a chance to test it out yet. What's going on? Who's in here? Invite your friends, give me some hearts, show some love, invite your followers, all right? But this particular video, the guy was answering the question about the aluminum that was part of the chemtrails. And so I guess he was a scientist or something, and they wanted to know, what's the effects of this stuff being put in the air, in particular the aluminum. And the guy, he didn't answer like directly, but he was trying to front it off as if to say, well, we don't have enough data, so it could possibly be really bad. But the real truth is, he knew it was bad, but that's how he tried to answer it, so it can be masked as if like he didn't know what was going on, but they will eventually test it and find out. So he answered in that type of way, like, yeah, since we haven't really tested it out yet, it could possibly be really bad. That type of answer. So, and then, so the guy went back to talk to somebody in the news, and they was discussing like, hey, did you know this guy said this thing about the aluminum? It's like he didn't deny that it wasn't in part of the chemtrails, but when it came to finding out what the causes would be respiratory wise, the people in general, and then people who might have bad respiratory problems, what this aluminum would do to you when inhaled or ingested or whatever. What's going on? Invite your followers, share some hearts. So another thing I've noticed was with the chemtrails, there was one time it was snowing. It might have been a couple of winters ago, maybe 14, 15, 2016, and I don't think it was 2016, but 15, 14, 13, 12, somewhere around there. And this was kind of weird. That's another thing too. With this stuff being in the sky, and like I said, in a minute I'm going to look up these three chemicals that seem to get mentioned in these chemtrails, and I'm gonna look it up real quick and see, so you guys can kind of get an idea of what this stuff is. But I remember one of these winters when it was snowing, and I got out in the morning to walk my dog, and I looked on the ground, and the ground was clear, like as if somebody put a glass across the whole parking lot. The clearest glass you could see, but within that clearness, and it was frozen, it was ice, it was just clear ice. But inside or under it, however you want to say, was a lot of pieces of metal. And I was walking, I was like, where did this stuff come from? I said, I ain't never seen this on the ground before when snow would come down. Never in a lifetime. And I would constantly walk in the parking lot. Like I said, it was like a sheet of ice covering the whole entire parking lot. And it was these pieces of metal embedded in the ice. And like you could see it clear as day because the ice was clear, and you just seen pieces of metal or what looked to be metal. And I'm like, where all this stuff come from? And that's what even intrigued me more when they said, when I would look up and research that there's this aluminum, which is a metal, or pieces of metal. I always think about like the aluminum foil, because that's what it exactly looked like. It looked like pieces of aluminum foil was across the whole entire parking lot, scattered around, but within close proximity of each other in this clear sheet of ice during one winter. So when I seen that, I was like, yeah, something's going on in the sky. They putting this stuff out. They're not telling nobody anything. So then another thing I would notice, on a rainy day one time, sometimes I try to not get comfortable. Like some people, when it rains, they want to put on a jacket and umbrella. You, of course, do all that. But one day I just kind of felt energetic to the point where I said, I'm going to ride in the rain, get on my bike and ride in the rain, get some exercise. So I can always constantly be, in a way, testing myself and not getting comfortable in a certain comfort zone. Like if it rains and people won't go outside and do certain things. So I was trying to break myself out of that and saying, well, if it rains, I'm still going to run out there, whether it was running, walking. But I decided, well, let me ride the bike because I can get from one place to another faster. And in case if it gets too bad, I just ride back home. And it was raining down pretty heavy. And I said, I'm going in anyway. I'm feeling kind of good. Boom. Riding the bike, put a hat on my head. I think it was kind of warm that day. So it might have been a summer time, but it was just particularly rainy that particular day. And so I had short sleeves on, rode around, boom, 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 boom. Now, normally people would say, well, if you get in there, you're going to get sick, when you come back. But I've done that before in the past and never had any problems as far as getting sick. Stand out in the rain for a few minutes on them hot days when it just would rain down for 5-10 minutes, get under it, go back in. But this particular time, it seemed like rode the bike, finished, did some other stuff after I got finished riding the bike, lift a few weights. And for some reason, it seemed like I got not necessarily sick, but my head was feeling real funny. And I always understood that people use deodorant, and a lot of people don't realize deodorant, unless you buy specifically ones without it, deodorant has aluminum in it. And I would notice what I'm doing now is kind of comparing, kind of tying in what I just said. I used to use deodorant with aluminum, and I noticed I would have these funny head issues even then. So I decided to stop using that and found deodorant that did not contain aluminum, and I noticed the problem would go away. On top of the skin issues that would occur rolling it under your arm, you get these little large lumps on my skin. Then when I stopped doing it, when I stopped using deodorant with aluminum in it, that stopped. So the same type of issue that occurred when I was using the deodorant was occurring when I was driving the bike in the rain. And finished maybe the next day or two, I started noticing the same little feeling. So I said, there's got to be some connection. It's got to be aluminum in that sky. And when the rain comes down, the rain is taking all that aluminum back down again to the ground. So it's going to, whoever's out, it's going to touch your skin, face, whatever, hands. And you start noticing feeling real funny. So I started kind of connecting the dots a little bit. And I started deciding, like, okay, anytime I walk in the rain, whether it's me going from my home to the car, drive to the store, got to get out, go in the store, I'm going to make sure I stay covered, keep my head covered, skin covered. And when I started doing that, I noticed that I didn't have any issues, or they wasn't as bad, or no issues at all. So to me, it seems like there's something to it. There goes another plane. I just finished telling y'all about 5-10 minutes ago, there was a plane flying by with this little trails. Here comes another one. But this time the trail, I don't know, this trail might stay longer than the last one. So if you guys can see that, there's a plane up there. I just, that's the subject I'm talking about today, of chemtrails. So I don't know if this plane, the last plane didn't leave a long line. This one looks like the line is getting a little bit longer. And like I said, there might be something to it that the people who control things, are realizing the average citizen is starting to figure out some things are going on. They're starting to wake up. So I guess they have to change their plans. But I see there's 2 people in. It might be a whole bunch more that's watching me. It's hard to tell. That happened last week too. I didn't realize it was like 1,000 people that checked me out last week. But it might, but my screen always would show 2 or 3 people here and there, 5 or 6, 7 people. But when I finished looking at it, when my show ended, I looked at the views, and I had like 1,000+ views. But hopefully it's not going in and out, because I know how Periscope does sometimes. It'll start freezing and people have to come out and come back in. But for some reason it records everything most times, even though it'll freeze to you guys watching it. But yeah, so this plane has just flew by. It hasn't left a long trail. Just the trail keeps following the plane. So I think they know that people are waking up and realizing what's going on. Now, like I said, I was talking about 3 chemicals in particular, but then one specifically, the aluminum, which they said is contained in those chemtrails. Oh, there goes another plane, leaving some line. Oh, and there's another one. All right, so far I've seen 4 planes. See that? Right on time with the topic today. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'll look back at the video later. But there you go. But their lines are not long this time. See, that's what I'm thinking suspicious. People starting to wake up. So, and then there was a thing, like I said, I did some research maybe several years back, and there's a thing called Chemtrails, Chemtrails, and then there's chemtrails, which I think is for condensation, short for condensation trails, and then you have chemtrails, which is short for chemical trails. And so far, like I said, there goes 2 planes there. I don't know if you guys can see it. And then there was 2 planes that I seen earlier, both going in the same direction. So they're out. Like I said at the beginning of this video, of this live stream, that these planes come out fairly early, and they start leaving these lines in the sky. And then all of a sudden, your weather changes. And so there's always been talk about weather modification tools and equipment. And there goes another one. That's 1, 2, 3. So far 5 planes. There you go. There's 3 of them. And I seen 2 early on. So as you see, I'm not making this up. Only difference is these guys are not leaving lines long like they would before. And who knows, maybe later on they'll pop up in the sky. See, that might be the new trick. They might have it to where they can fly, leave these lines, and it's just following the plane, so you don't see a long, like 5 or 6 mile long white lines across the sky that look like fake clouds. But maybe they got it now to where they can change things up and still put out the chemicals and just make it look like not too obvious anymore. So yeah, so far I've seen 5 planes flying during the time of this live stream. And like I said, the chemicals in it, they mentioned, were aluminum, barium. I always thought something else. I forget the chemical I thought it was, but it's aluminum, barium, and strontium. And so what I'm going to do is grab my other phone here and look up these chemicals right quick and find out what we're looking at here. And see what we're working with as far as these chemicals are concerned. And by the way, while I'm doing that, be sure you guys to start checking out my new channel on YouTube, and it's going to be on Facebook, and it's going to be on Instagram, called Survive and Protect. I'm going to be doing videos related to personal protection, and it's going to be videos of different things regarding protection, security, safety. And soon I'm going to be, it won't be the first video, but somewhere down the line, I'm going to do a video to show you guys, we have been having these active shooters in school, and Florida had one at the airport. I think it was last year, the guy in the airport. Then in New York, they had the dude that set the bomb off on himself in the subway. So I'm going to be showing y'all videos on how to watch out for these people, how to, because of course you're not gonna be able to stop a bomb or stop a person from blowing themselves up, but there's other things you can do to possibly, give you a more higher percentage of keeping yourself safe from people like that. And so I'm going to be putting a lot of videos together. It starts March 15th, and it's going to be on YouTube and Facebook. Instagram, I can't put shows. If those of you who know, who have Instagram, you can't put full 5, 10, 15, 20-minute videos on an Instagram post. But what I might do is do a live stream, maybe once in a while. I might not do it all the time. As far as Instagram goes, is go on live stream on that particular Instagram platform and take one of my videos and post it up live for people to look at. All right, so I might do that once in a while, but most of the time the Instagram page will be just post about different safety tips. Might be a quick 30-second video or quick 45-second video, stuff like that. But every once in a while I might get on live on that Instagram page and show one of my videos from my YouTube and Facebook pages, channels. So be sure to go to Survive and Protect. All right, Survive and Protect on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, or whichever one you're more familiar with or comfortable with going to. Some of you have Facebook pages as well. Some of you guys go to YouTube, and some of you go to Instagram. So, like I said, Instagram is going to be more or less video, 30-second, 1-minute videos or quotes about security and safety and stuff like that. But the YouTube channel and the Facebook page will definitely have the videos on it. And like I said, it's going to run the gamut. Thanks for coming in. It's going to run the gamut of different security and protection type videos. So that was a big concern of mine last year and the year before, because when I first started noticing all this stuff going on, different shootings at naval bases and schools and subways and all that nonsense. And the truth is the laws ain't gonna really change nothing to make a dent in all this stuff happening. So it's best that you guys start learning what you can do and teach your kids and family. And so I'm gonna be doing a lot of videos once a week. It's going to be a new video on a particular subject, all right, related to survival and personal security and self-protection. So you guys be checking out that channel on YouTube, Survive and Protect. On Facebook, same name, Survive and Protect. And on Instagram, Survive and Protect, all right? So now let's get back to the clouds versus chemtrails. All right, I'm gonna look up aluminum. Aluminum effects on the body. All right. Okay. It says here that oral exposure to aluminum is usually not harmful, but I don't believe that at all. Some studies show that people exposed to high levels of aluminum may develop Alzheimer's disease. So before I read on, well, let me read the rest of it. But other studies have not found this to be true. We do not know for certain that aluminum causes Alzheimer's. Now, I've noticed that the Alzheimer's disease has gone up over the years too in people. And dementia has gone up. Right? And I've been doing some research on that as well, and found that possibly some of it has to do, I'll put it this way when it comes to that. I think aluminum has something to do with it. I think, and there's been some studies that I've researched and found that people in India have less cases of Alzheimer's and dementia because they probably take turmeric or have turmeric in their foods. And another thing I researched is that a lack of drinking enough water also may be affecting the Alzheimer's and dementia issue. So those are something that you guys might want to consider as far as improving that situation, is to drink more water and maybe add some turmeric to your food or your drink. I guess you can add it to your drink as well. Right? I just had to take a look under my car. There was a couple of vehicles that parked in front and behind my car, and then they kind of left. I don't know what that was about, but that's the personal security in me, the personal protection in me. So like I said, I'm really for real about that, and I really want you guys to learn about protecting yourself. I didn't see anybody get out, but they came and pulled in front of, one pulled behind, one pulled in front. So I don't know if they was checking out my vehicle or not, just seeing what was going on. But yeah, so start drinking more water if you haven't, and maybe add some turmeric to your food when you prepare it. Also, another thing, I've kind of watched this dude. I think the dude who makes the 5 Hour Energy, I think it's an Indian guy. I don't know if he's an inventor, scientist, or whatever, but he also has been experimenting with coming up with an invention of trying to take regular water, like have these tubes. There was an invention he had where these tubes were in the inside the actual sea or beach water or something, and it would, whatever machine he had would pump the water out of this beach or the sea, and then it would clean the water and make it into drinking water. And so then he was working on another thing as well about I think Alzheimer patients, and what his studies seem to be, or what he came up with, is that when people get older, they do less movement, and so therefore their blood doesn't circulate as much, because the more you move, walking and stuff like that, maybe lifting weights, exercising, then your blood can circulate a lot better. And he also was thinking that that's probably, hey, what's going on? Thanks for coming in, share with your followers. Looks like it says stolen something. Sorry, I didn't get your name. But invite your followers in, man. All right. But yeah, the guy was saying that possibly your blood circulation also can contribute to Alzheimer's, dementia. All right. But staying on topic, like I said, the effects from aluminum, they claim that, from what I just looked up, is that high levels of aluminum may develop Alzheimer's. So again, you got to put on your thinking hat and look at it like this. Okay, when they claim that oral exposure to aluminum is it says usually not harmful. You got to pay attention to these words, usually not. So that means there's a possibility that it can be harmful, or that it is harmful. And then it says some studies show that people exposed to high levels of aluminum may develop Alzheimer's disease. The birds are communicating with each other. Yeah, I see both of the birds on 2 different light posts. They're communicating. But anyway, so it says high levels of it may develop Alzheimer's. So you got to look at it like this. If these planes been flying in the sky for a amount of 10 years, let's use 10 years for example, and every now and at some point, the chemicals that they're saying that's in these chemtrails is aluminum, barium, and strontium. If they fall down or come to the ground, and people are going to be out, because these planes come out from summer to summer. Every season they're out. It's not like there's a one season where they don't come out and everything is cool. They're out all the time, all year round, different seasons. So in the course of 10 years, you get rains, you get snows, you get hail, and this stuff has to come down, right? So it's going to hit you eventually, so it's going to get on your skin. Snow might hit your face, rain might hit your face, so some of that might be aluminum particles getting on you, the barium getting on you, strontium getting on you. And this, in looking at this thing here, saying that the aluminum might, in high levels, develop Alzheimer's disease. You might develop Alzheimer's. Well then, there's no wonder why there's a lot of people, a lot of old folks, and sometimes even young people start being forgetful about stuff and not remembering things. Well, yeah, that's because you got 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of planes flying in the sky, putting all this aluminum, and it's got to come down at some point. The rain pulls it down to the ground. And like I said earlier, I remember that one year when it was snowing, it was like a clear sheet of ice across the whole entire parking lot of the apartment complex I lived in. And embedded in this clear sheet of ice was pieces of what looked to be aluminum. It was pieces of metal. And no other time have I seen it snow and that occurred. And something like that, it's not like somebody dropped garbage like across a whole parking lot. You're talking about, you got about 16 buildings. So across the whole 16 buildings with the parking lot, all of these pieces of metal is embedded in a clear sheet of ice. No, something else is going on. Then, you guys might remember, if not, look it up. There was a time, I don't remember what year it was in, it was in the 2000s, it might have been 2009 or so, where they said there was birds just flying, all of a sudden they would die and just fall out the sky. And people to this day still don't know why that happened, but they would fly and just fall out. Don't know if it has something to do with the chemicals in the sky or something else going on. So there's something to it. There's something definitely being put in the sky. And then of course, people's crops were damaged or get damaged. And you have these funny looking or these unhealthy looking fruits, vegetables, and crops. When before they wouldn't, they look much more healthier. So something is being put in those trails of what looks to be white clouds, and then they would scatter, 5, 10, 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, they would scatter and it looked like it's a regular cloud. But you could kind of tell it wasn't. You could tell the difference between an actual cloud and this stuff that would just scatter. And so let me look up barium real quick. Barium. And see what the effects are. The effects of barium on the human body. Small amounts of water soluble barium may cause a person to experience breathing difficulties, increased blood pressure, heart rhythm changes, stomach irritation, muscle weakness, changes in nerve reflexes, swelling of brains and liver, kidney, and heart damage. Wow. Barium has not shown to cause cancer. Now, let me tell you something about this, because this is my first time actually like looking it up and telling y'all about it. There's been times, even myself, I would notice some of these conditions, and I'm not an unhealthy dude. And then I'll be notice other people out the blue, they would kind of be concerned because they said this never happened to them. They would have breathing difficulties. Your head would feel funny, and that might be what I was talking about earlier when I said I would go in the rain, because I want to not get comfortable with, certain people. Some people, when it rains, they don't want to go out and still exercise, run, whatever, walk. Some people go out there and do it, and I said to myself, I'm gonna go out here and ride my bike in this rain. But then I would notice my head feeling real funny. And I'm looking at this now, it's saying swelling of the brain and liver. It can cause, possible swelling of the brains and liver. So that's barium. All right, barium. You guys look that up, research that yourself. You look up aluminum, research it yourself, and see what you can find out. This definitely needs to be looked into more with these planes flying up. And then, you could kind of go off in different directions with this, because you've been hearing things like population control. Some of you guys over the years, that's a way to control people. Put these chemicals in the sky, make them have all these health issues, and then people start falling off, dropping dead and all that, because they keep putting enough of this stuff in the sky, and then causing the weather to change, make it rain so the stuff can come down on you. You inhale it, breathing in, it touches your skin. And then you get these situations like high increased blood pressure, breathing difficulties, heart rhythm changes, stomach irritations, muscle weakness, changes in nerve reflexes. That's crazy. Changes in your nerve reflexes, swelling of brains and liver, kidney and heart damage. Wow. So that's what they're putting in the sky, and it gets back to you. You breathe it, inhale it, it comes down. That's crazy. That is real crazy. So what I'm going to look up now is strontium and see what we find about strontium. I'm doing research on the spot. All right, just so you guys can see, I'm using my other phone. I'm looking these things up, as you see, right? See that? See my thumb moving? I'm doing Google searches as we speak. All right, radioactive strontium is much more of a health risk than stable strontium. So they got something called radioactive, and they got something called stable. Radioactive strontium and stable strontium. So it's saying radioactive strontium is much more of a health risk than stable strontium. When the uptake is very high, it may cause anemia and oxygen shortages, and at extremely high concentrations, it is even known to cause cancer as a result of damage to the genetic materials in cells. All right, there you go. You guys can see that. So look up these chemicals, man. Look up aluminum, barium, and strontium, and see what you find out. Do your own research. Also, continue looking up in the sky and watching these planes, because now that I've seen, there goes another plane again. So that's 6 planes I've seen so far with these lines. But the lines haven't been long at all, so maybe they got another way of doing it now to not make it obvious. Or I don't want to give nobody no benefit of the doubt when it comes to people's health, but it could be contrails, which is just condensation in the sky, and it meets with the air and it kind of leaves this white trail. That's what contrails is, condensation trails. But chemtrails is when you got these chemicals in a cloud, in a spray, and the planes flying in the spray. There goes another plane. That's 7 planes so far as I've been talking on live stream. 7 planes I've seen with these lines so far. And so maybe they got another way to change things up to make it a small line. Maybe it's invisible, so it doesn't last, it doesn't look long anymore. So who knows? Who knows? So far, since doing this live stream, talking about these planes, putting out these lines, there's been 7 planes I done looked at. Like I said, I try to put it in the sky, so I don't know if you guys can see it. What's up? Truth is, you're what? I tried again. I didn't catch that. Try it again for me. Or if anybody can put up and repeat what that person put out. I was looking up at the time and just caught the message as it was disappearing. So put up your message again, whoever that was. Don't be shy. But 7 airplanes, man. As I'm doing this live stream, 7 planes with these lines have flown by. Maybe when I look at the video back, I'll catch what the comment was. If you're not going to put it up. Or if something's going on with Periscope that it won't let you put it back up. But, yeah. Do your own field research by looking up in the sky. Different times of the day. Watch these planes. And then just pay attention to what the weather does. Pay attention to how you feel health-wise. I just read out the effects of aluminum, barium, and strontium on your health. You look it up yourself and do some further research on it, and see what you come up with. And maybe you can get back with me the next time I get on. And maybe somebody needs to be looked at. Somebody needs to be spoken to, and find out why it's just constantly being put in the sky. Read it again. I didn't, who's this? Protect, I think that's what it says. Protect with some numbers on it. I didn't catch it. So if you could put it back up real quick. I don't know if that was you. Put it back up real fast. I was looking up, trying to put the phone to the sky to show you these planes flying around. But yeah, do your research on it, man. Do your own little field study. There's nothing, no laws and no rules to say you can't do your own field study by looking up, by researching articles, Googling those chemicals. Read your chemical breakdown again. Oh, you want me to read it? All right. Let me start with strontium since that's still on the phone. It says with strontium, I was looking at the effects of strontium on the human health or human body. It says strontium, radioactive strontium, is much more of a health risk than stable strontium. So I guess there's 2 types of strontiums. There's radioactive and then there's stable. And they're saying there's more health risk if it's radioactive type of strontium compared to stable. But they didn't say that stable wasn't still a risk. It just says radioactive strontium is more of a risk. So now it says when the uptake is very high, which I guess that means if the concentration of it is very high, it may cause anemia. I think that's what it says, or anemia. They might have the spelling wrong. Anemia, and it may cause anemia and oxygen shortages. And at extremely high concentrations, it is even known to cause cancer as a result of damage to the genetic materials in cells. That's strontium. All right. Let's look up barium real quick. And these are the chemicals that they're saying are in these trails that you watch these planes spraying out. Watch these planes and it comes out of their planes. All right. All right. With barium, B-A-R-I-U-M, small amounts of water-soluble barium may cause a person to experience breathing difficulties, increased blood pressures, heart rhythm changes, stomach irritation, muscle weakness, changes in nerve reflexes, swelling of brains and liver, kidney and heart damage. Barium has not shown to cause cancer with humans. Has not shown, doesn't mean it can't or it hasn't. I guess to what they're saying, they claim, hasn't shown that. But that's all relative, really. And of course, let's look up aluminum right quick. All right, it says with aluminum, oral exposure to aluminum is usually, keyword usually, not harmful. Some studies show that people exposed to high levels of aluminum may develop Alzheimer's disease, but other studies have not found this to be true. So you got some studies that say, hey, high levels of this stuff may cause Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's disease, just me doing my own, being observant throughout the years, seems to have picked up. So that might be part of the cause on top of some other stuff too, like vaccinations and all that. Might be also added to why people are getting Alzheimer's. And also what I mentioned earlier, I was doing some research in regards to Alzheimer's and dementia maybe several years ago. And what I've come up with is that maybe people need to drink more water, take turmeric, put it in your food, and eat some food with more turmeric in it. Because people in India seem to eat more turmeric and they have less cases of Alzheimer's and dementia or one or the other. So you might want to consider putting turmeric in your foods, mix it up, or even in your drink. And drink water and more circulation of blood in your body. I also kind of looked up this dude, the guy who makes the, or maybe he doesn't now, I know he did at one time, who is an Indian guy who created the 5-hour energy drink. Oh, so how do you know any of these chemicals are, damn, I missed it. I'm assuming you're asking how I know these are in those chemtrails. Well, I don't assume. Here's, again, this is what I said, it comes in. If that's what you're asking, I'm just going to answer it. I'm assuming you're asking that to put it back up if you can. But if you're asking, how do I know those are in these chemtrails or these clouds that come out these planes, for lack of a better word, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of course, looking up, researching, reading a few books or reading a few articles, looking at some videos, more or less videos, articles, talking to people, and also my own experiences, and also looking at other people, paying attention, because I'm a real observant person. You'd be surprised how observant I really am if you're around me. I'll notice stuff you don't notice. But that also might be part of what I do for a living. I gotta be that way anyway, so. But that's something else totally different. But I notice certain things within me when I know I'm a healthy person, and people would tell you that. And I would notice certain situations happen with me, and it'll be right after certain things that would happen. Like, for instance, and there goes another plane. That's about the 8th plane so far, if you guys can see that. Mercury, I missed that. Every time I'm looking somewhere, the message comes up. But I seen Mercury, and it might have been 5-methyl, I think you might have put in there. That's another thing too. Yeah, I looked up the Mercury situation. Also in the mercury they put in your teeth for the fillings and stuff like that. And I heard of 5-methyl as well. What's going on? Miss your name, starts with a C. Sorry about that. I'm in the sun, so it's gonna be hard to read some of you guys' names when it pops up. The darker color ones you can kind of read out, unless I'm walking in the shade somewhere. So sorry I missed your name, but thanks for coming in and invite your followers, man. I'm probably not gonna be on here too much longer, but if I get into a conversation, that'll keep me on a little longer. But I noticed whoever that was, I didn't catch your name, but I seen mercury in your comments, and I think thimerosal was in your comments as well. And also that plays a part too. I did some looking into that mercury situation and thimerosal. I think is the thimerosal in the mercury or in some type of vaccinations that they give out. I remember that thimerosal as well. So, but what I'm saying is this. There's been several times I've walked in the rain. Sometimes I wanted to exercise in the rain because I just don't want to keep myself conditioned to be like letting weather stop you, because you never know. In an emergency situation, you could be out somewhere and your only choice is having to do something in the rain or a heavy snowstorm. And so you don't want to be conditioned into just saying, oh, it's this, I'm going to hunker down. Sometimes you're going to have to move. So I was just trying to do that and figured I was feeling good that particular day as far as energetic enough to say, let me get on this bike and ride in this rain. But then I noticed afterwards, well, let's go back. Before then, the day before, I seen the planes go up. The next day, it rains. That's when I said, I'm gonna ride my bike in the rain. Then, after that, a day or two later, started having these funny head feelings with my head, and some similar stuff to what I just read about the barium. Like you got these rhythmic, funny feelings in your chest, like your heart's beating faster than it should, stuff like that. And I'm not doing anything, just sitting calm. So I'm like, wait a minute, and I'm putting two and two together. Like I said, I pay attention to stuff that goes on around me a lot, whether it's in the sky, people, cars going by, things like that. So I started putting two and two together, and I just kept on paying more attention. And then, like I said, there's one time, and there's one thing I'm going to say this, then I'm going to mention the other thing. And then that other time, I remember when it snowed, clear sheet of ice with all these pieces of metal. It's not like somebody drove on the parking lot and just scattered a whole apartment complex and made the whole ground, parking lot, clear ice with these metal pieces in it. Nobody was driving around putting metal pieces in the clear sheet of ice that covered the whole entire parking lot of 16 apartment buildings. But yet, when I look down, I'm looking at a clear sheet of ice with all these little pieces of metal that I said to myself, that's aluminum embedded in the ice. Where did all this stuff come from? Came down with the snow. Then, I don't know if you guys recall, there was a several years back where there was a news thing where people was taking the snowballs and putting the lighters to it, and it wasn't even melting the snow. When if it's ice is just frozen water, you would think you put some heat to it, it'll start breaking down eventually and start turning back into water. And people were holding up snowballs, putting lighters and fire and heat, and it was not melting. Go figure. So it's a combination of a whole bunch of things that I'm paying attention to or have paid attention to, on top of just looking stuff up out of curiosity. And you start piecing stuff together, and the more you find out, the more you start paying attention, and then things start coming through, right? Now, all this time I've been talking since I started, and I said 8 planes have flown by, and this particular time they didn't leave these long. There goes another one. That's 9. All these planes haven't leave the long trails they have in the past. When I said they will leave like mile, 2, 3, 4, 5 mile long trails of white line and crisscrossing each other the whole time here, and it can maybe has nothing to do with nothing, but all the clouds that were around has disappeared and almost all the sky is clear over here. Coincidence? Maybe. But these are one of those things where I'm gonna pay attention to that. Later on, if I'm out and about, I'm just gonna look up and pay attention, see what's going on with the sky. The next day, I'm definitely gonna go back and read your messages. Every time I got my head turned, your messages pop up. Like I don't know why this keep happening. And I'm not purposely not trying to see, I'm kind of looking up and looking while I'm talking. I'm looking up, and then when I turn back to look at the phone, your message comes up, but it's fading out, so I don't catch it. But like I said, it could just be the thing that's how the weather pattern's going today. It could be. Or it could have something to do with these planes. About 9 planes I've flown by since I started the live stream. And they have gone in different directions, but the only difference is they did not leave any long trails of the lines this time around. So maybe they're still in effect. Maybe they have another way of doing it. Maybe they have a couple of ways of doing, changing the weather, modifying things, but at the same time, the chemicals are hurting folks. So like I said, you guys look up aluminum, look up barium, do your own thing. I showed you that I got the phone here, so I'm looking it up as well, as you guys can see. I'm not just talking out the side of my mouth. I am researching as I'm talking when I can. And so you guys do your own thing. Pay more attention to what's going up in the sky. Look up the words aluminum, barium, strontium. Research some videos. Go on YouTube. Type in chemtrails. Google chemtrails. And if you want to use Google, go to Bing, B-I-N-G, and type in the word chemtrail. See if we find there. Type in articles, chemtrail articles. Go on YouTube and type in chemtrail articles. Even though it's video, I'm sure some stuff will pop up. Like I said, look up those words, find out, research if there are other chemicals besides those three, or are there more, and then maybe those are just the main three that's heavily used. Like I said, I read the health effects on a lot of them, and also just pay attention to your health and find out, have you noticed changes that are relating to the chemicals that I've read and their effects on the body? Have you noticed any changes when you know for a fact that your health was a lot better and certain things weren't happening like that, and all of a sudden things start changing? Like I said, I noticed some things that I read about in here, because I already remember I told my mom probably several years ago, I said, well, this was kind of related to a certain food, or those little Kool-Aid packs that had that phenylalanine, I think is how you pronounce it. The ones you could put in your water bottle and shake it up, and then it turns into that particular flavor of whatever, Kool-Aid or whatever. But it had a certain chemical in it. And I would notice that every time I would drink that stuff, the more I drank it, the more I was drinking it, the more I noticed some differences with me. So I stopped messing with it, and then things change. But also this stuff they putting in the sky, and then of course it has to come down. Whether it just drops down eventually, it may take a long time. Whether the rain brings it down, whether the snow, hail, wind brings it down on you, who knows? All right. So I thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for watching me. I thank you guys for listening to me. Those who listen to the soundcast on YouTube, and you don't watch me on Periscope, but you listen to my replays on YouTube, thank you for checking it out. Thank you for the live stream viewers, the replay viewers. Be sure to go to Survive and Protect on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow, share, like, comment, subscribe to either one of those or all of those, so you can start getting some protection tips that can save your family, save yourself, increase the percentage of keeping you safe, most definitely. You can also find me on Instagram at Norwood Ventures on Instagram. You can also find me at Norwood Ventures on Facebook and YouTube. So I have several YouTube channels and several Facebook pages. and several Instagram pages. So you'll be able to find me somewhere. All right. And I thank you guys for coming in, listening. I hope this live stream, soundcast, has sparked something in you to want to do some more research on this situation here. There goes another plane, so that's 10 doing the live stream. 10 planes and came in since I've done this live. All right. So I hope this helps you guys. That's the main thing, man. Try to help you out, entertain a little bit, but more or less educate. And so, with that being said, I want to thank y'all once again, and the replay starts now.